Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. If you haven't been here before, my name is Debbie and I read a lot of books, and even though it's cold outside, I'm right next to a radiator so I'm boiling. It doesn't want to seem to turn down. Anyway, Series Sunday, we're continuing with the Big Sky collection by CJ Box, and this book is The Back of Beyond. I'm just going to get straight in with the blurb. When Detective Cody Hoyt finds the dead body of his AA sponsor in a burned out mountain cabin, he doesn't know what to believe. Was this the last desperate act of an addict? Or is that exactly what someone wants him to think? Cody's determined to avenge the man who was always there for him, and when evidence incriminates a wilderness guide, Hoyt is ready to track him down. The only problem is the guide has Cody's son, and he's taking him into the back of beyond. So, this is in crime, thriller, detective, mystery, and this is the third book in the Big Sky collection by CJ Box. After these three, it goes into the Highway section of books, which is the Cassie Duell stories. So 3 Weeks to Say Goodbye was the first one, which is where we first introduced to Cody Hoyt. Blue Heaven was the second one, which doesn't have any characters that I knew in it. Back of Beyond, however, has Cody in it, and it's also the introduction to Grace and Danielle, who are seen in the first season of Big Sky, the television series, and therefore are obviously in the next book, which is The Highway, which I have started, so I know they're definitely in that book. But this is the introduction to those two characters as well. I feel like the third season of Big Sky, the TV series, may have been slightly inspired by Back of Beyond, just in the fact that it's based around a camp and taking them on hikes into the wilderness, or the Back of Beyond as it's called in the book. So it's all kind of Montana based, which is why it's Big Sky. And so at the very beginning of the book, Cody comes across a burnt house and realises that it's the house of his AA sponsor. His AA sponsor is dead and everything is pointing towards it being a suicide. But Cody, because he knows the guys, is like, wait, where are all of his AA coins? Why have they all disappeared? And, you know, this is a guy who has been sober for a very long time. He's my sponsor. So it's very unlike him to have just gone on a bender and drunk himself to death and accidentally set fire to his house. And the more they look into it, the more Cody realises that not everything adds up, and there might be connection to other deaths that have happened in a similar fashion that nobody's made the connection yet. It later comes out that other people have died in a similar fashion of their houses burning to the ground. What was different about Cody's sponsor, the night the house was set fire, it rained, which stopped it getting as severe as it did with the others, to the point where a load of evidence was erased by the fire. In this case, the rain meant that it didn't get as out of hand as the previous fires, and left evidence behind, which Cody found, which led to him finding out that there's a connection with the other deaths and figuring out who he needs to follow and trying to find out what on earth is going on. And I'll admit, there came a point when I came across The Who. I was probably just a couple of chapters ahead on The Who. But for the life of me, I did not see the why, even though there is a little bit of a hint with other stories happening. I'm not going to say what that hint is, otherwise you'll figure it out before you've even read the book. But yeah, I was completely gripped to this. It was like the other book, I didn't want to put it down. It came to a night after work when I was just like, I just need to finish this book, so I was just sat on the sofa reading it, and to the point where I think I ended up finishing it in bed, because it came to the point when I was thinking, it was coming up to 10 o'clock and it was just like, right, I do have work in the morning, so I'm going to go upstairs and finish this in bed before winding down, because these are not books to wind down to. You know how some people read in bed to make themselves sleepy? Me? I don't get sleepy if I read in bed. Generally it wakes me up because my imagination is going into hyperdrive. If you are the kind of person that likes to read in bed, these are not books to wind down to, because you're just going to get so engrossed you're going to end up reading till about 4 o'clock in the morning. Fortunately, I was very close to the end when I decided to read the rest of this in bed, so I think I only had about 30 pages to go when I was just like, I need to go to bed now. I was just completely fascinated by how it was all going to come together and how Cody was going to figure it out. Because when it came to the end and you did find out the connections with everything, and you're just like, oh, this goes so much deeper than you think it does. And then obviously there's the wilderness hike where he finds out that his son Justin, his son with Jenny, is on the hike, and he has basically got a list of everybody who is on this hike, because through the hints that are left at his sponsor's house, he realises that it looks like the person who did it is likely going to be on this hike. He knows that his son Justin is on the list of people to be on it, but he doesn't actually know if he's there. He doesn't know if he actually turned up for it. So it's that whole thing, you're like, I know he's on the list, but that doesn't necessarily mean that he's there. And so throughout the book he's constantly trying to figure out whether his son actually is there, whether his son is in danger. And he goes to an old guy who knows about the trail and helped to start off the business that is now organising all of it. And because once they've set off, it just means obviously like that they're a day behind them, so they need to kind of catch up with them. They take a shortcut to the first camp, figure out that they were there, and then carry on. But by the time that Cody gets there, people have already gone missing from the hike. So yeah, so it's constantly just following this group of people. You basically go between Cody's point of view, and then you've also got Gracie and Danielle, whose father have taken them on this trip. It's supposed to be kind of like a bonding thing, but they find out while they're there that it's actually an introduction to his girlfriend, who is also on the hike. And so you're just there thinking, how is this all going to connect to the mystery? Like, there was points when I was even questioning both the dad and the new stepmom, and it was just like, it's all done in the third person, but you feel like you identify more with Gracie than you do Danielle, because Gracie's the youngest, and so she's looking at her older sister. Her older sister also has a crush on, and is getting close with Justin, so that connects you back into the Cody Hoyt side of the story, because it all comes back to Cody. Cody, even though he's in AA, he does have drinks throughout the book, and it's obvious that this is an addiction that he is still actively trying to fight. And he is known for being a bit of a dodgy cop with the idea of planting evidence, or once they've got the guy, you know, doing underhand things to get people to confess and things, it's just like, even though technically it's for the greater good, it's not a great way to go about things as a policeman. But I was completely hooked on this story and trying to figure out how everything connected and what the actual connection was between the victims, because going through there's no obvious one apart from the fact that they were all members of AA, but it was like across the country, so it's not like they all went to the same AA meeting, and it's trying to figure out like how their paths may have crossed and what they've done, you know, were they being targeted because they're in AA, or is there something else that links them? Yeah, it's a very, very cool mystery to kind of get your teeth into, because going through, you really haven't a clue. And they're also investigating this thing in regards to, because there's mentions on this hike, because it is a hike into the mountains, about a plane that went down that people witnessed, but this plane's never been reported missing. And the guy in charge of the hike, he keeps trying to take them off trail, and his partner, Dakota, keeps wondering what on earth he's doing. And it's just like, oh, is he looking for this plane that apparently went down? Because you don't get the full story. So it's just like, it feels like a lot of people might actually be looking for this plane that went down, even though nobody has reported it missing, other than a couple of people who thought they saw it go down over Yellowstone, which is like the national park at which this all happens. Even though people claim to have witnessed it, there seems to be no investigation into that, so that's kind of a side investigation as well, and you're just trying to see how it all correlates. Yeah, I just found it completely fascinating. And knowing that Gracie and Danielle are going to be the next book, which means that I know what's going to happen to them in the next book, because that was the book that was based on the first season. Yeah, this is more than just a Series Sunday, this is a book series to TV series, Series Sunday, because I'm really going into comparing it to the TV show. Especially because the next book is The Highway, which I have already started. I'm a couple of chapters in, and oh boy, it's going to be interesting to read that because that is the first season. But yeah, it's a case of Cody, with him being like the main investigator, you are on his side, but at the same time he's not completely trustworthy, because you know he's in AA, you know that he's an alcoholic, and you know that even though he's in AA and he does have like a chip or two to confirm, you know, how long he's been sober, you see him reset a few times in the book where he's just like, I just need a drink, and how he's going to celebrate at the end of like when he's found Justin with having a cigarette and stuff. And the depths he'll go to save his son and figure out what's going on. And obviously it is under kind of almost like the right conditions or whatever, because he wants to know what happened to his AA sponsor. He wants to know who killed him. And so you've got all these good intentions, but at the same time he has this addiction which is affecting the way he is doing his job. I mean, even the first time we were introduced to him in 3 Weeks to Say Goodbye, he was actively drinking and also driving while he was drinking. So he's almost a bit of an anti-hero in a way, because he's a goodie, but he does lots of bad things along the way and feels like it's justified. It's just like, does the end justify the means? Not always. Because I know what happens to him in the TV series, I don't know if that's what happens in the book or if it was just a way to bring in the Jenny-Cassie duo in the TV series. Because at the moment, the role that Cassie plays in the next book, it looks like they split that role into Cassie and Jenny for the TV series. It looks like it's primarily Cassie at the moment in the books. So yeah, I think that what they've done is they've just split that character up to have the female duo in the television series. But I'll go more into that once I finish The Highway and I can talk about that book. But yeah, as somebody who loves a good murder mystery, a good thriller, this is just, yeah. And with it being set in Montana, and you've got all the descriptions of the mountains and just the scenery, and I'm just thinking, even this is all about like murder and stuff, I'd love to see Montana one day. Like, this is me living in God's country, Yorkshire, but you know, the idea of seeing Montana one day, it sounds beautiful. But would I want to go on a camping hiking trip? No. To be fair, I'm not much of a camper anyway. The fact that you are getting the two sides of the story from Cody investigating it on the outside, and then you have the inside story of Gracie and Danielle on the trip, their connections to Justin, well, Danielle's relationship to Justin in particular, their relationship with their father, and their father introducing them to the new girlfriend. And I was just there thinking, this is the worst way to introduce your children to your new girlfriend. Taking them on a camping trip, which, to be fair, Danielle doesn't even want to do because it means she's going to be without her phone, her beloved phone, for like a week or whatever it is. And so, yeah, Gracie does actually enjoy it. She likes riding a horse. She's got a little horse called Strawberry. But yeah, it does mainly feel like you're seeing it through Gracie's eyes rather than Danielle's, even though it is all done in the third person. So it's just nice having those two sides of it, where you're seeing the outside and finding out what's going on the inside. Because so much of what happens on that camping trip is just obviously completely relevant, because you're finding out exactly what is going on. You're finding out that their team leader is trying to divert them off. You are getting points of view of the people running the hike as well, so you know there's something else going on. Once you realise that it's possible that that somebody is looking out for this plane, and you're just like, wait, does this mean that somebody else is? I just enjoyed it so much, and I'm very much looking forward to really getting into Highway, which I'm a couple of chapters into. But this is the Big Sky Collection by CJ Box. This one was the back of Beyond. So that is the front cover of this section. So I finished these three, so I was able to return that. So yeah, then it's the Highway, and then it goes on to Badlands, which I have got on audiobook, and there's also Paradise Valley in there as well. But yeah, I am very much looking forward to going into the more of a comparison between the Highway section of the books with Cassie, and really having a proper comparison of that to the television series, because just watching the series made me incredibly intrigued to read these books. And generally, even when I have seen the TV series, I do generally prefer the books, just because obviously there's more to it, and a lot of the time for films and TV series they have to edit so much, and so yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing like what actually is supposed to happen in that book, and you know, what have I missed by not reading the book first. So yeah, The Highway I've got next, which is on Kindle. So thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you next time with another video. Stay safe, everybody. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Love you all.